Remember when cars talk to you? Not through speakers, through the steering wheel, through the shifter, through the throttle. When you felt every imperfection in the asphalt, when engines sang to 8,500 RPM, when you chose the gear, not a computer. That's gone. Between 2018 and 2024, 9 specific technologies systematically dismantled driving engagement, and most people never even noticed. Your car doesn't respond to you anymore. It manages you, corrects you, overrides you. The manufacturers call it safety. I call it what it is, the elimination of driver involvement, and they're not done. Here's the list they hope you never see. 9 features killing driving pleasure, ranked by how completely they've destroyed what made cars more than appliances. Number 9, fake engine noise. Your exhaust note is a lie. That aggressive growl when you accelerate, an MP3 file. The sporty rumble at idle, piped through your speakers. BMW calls it active sound design. Volkswagen calls it sound actor. I call it automotive fraud. The M5 plays synthetic engine noise through a speaker mounted in the firewall. The Golf GTI has a literal sound generator, a speaker vibrating fake bass frequencies into the cabin. Even Porsche, the company that built its reputation on naturally aspirated symphonies, electronically enhances the 718 because the turbocharged 4-cylinder sounds like an industrial vacuum without audio assistance. Ford took the deception further. The Mustang EcoBoost plays different sound files based on driving mode. Select Sport mode, and the system literally plays V8 audio samples through your speakers while you're driving a 4-cylinder. They're not even hiding it anymore. They've turned automotive fraud into a features list. Here's what makes this unforgivable. The technology to make engines sound incredible exists. Exhaust tuning, resonator design, intake acoustics. These are proven engineering solutions. But synthesized sound costs $20 per car. Proper exhaust development costs millions, so you get PlayStation sound effects instead of mechanical music. The psychological damage runs deeper than you'd think. Your brain evolved to connect auditory feedback with physical sensation. When the sound doesn't match the acceleration forces, when the acoustic drama doesn't align with the mechanical reality, your subconscious knows something's wrong. The disconnect destroys immersion. It's like watching a movie where the audio is 3 seconds delayed, technically functional, emotionally broken. Number 8, electronic parking brake. The solution to a problem that never existed. For a century, the mechanical handbrake worked flawlessly, simple, reliable, intuitive. Then engineers decided a cable and lever weren't sophisticated enough, so they replaced perfection with motors, computers, and complexity that fails exactly when you need it most. You can't modulate an electronic parking brake. That gradual release during hill starts, the one that lets you balance clutch engagement and throttle perfectly, gone. Now you get violent engagement or nothing. Hill starts become jerky disasters, especially in manual cars where smooth coordination was everything. Emergency use? Forget it. That progressive pulling motion that could save you if hydraulic brakes failed has been replaced by a computer that decides whether your emergency qualifies as valid. Most systems won't even engage above 10 kilometers per hour. When you actually need emergency braking, the system is programmed to refuse. The failure rates tell the real story. Data shows electronic parking brake problems in 12% of cars over 5 years old. Traditional cable handbrakes, less than 1% failure rate over the same period. When electronic systems fail, they often lock in the engaged position, requiring flatbed recovery to a dealer. But here's the real crime. They eliminated joy. Handbrake turns in empty parking lots covered in snow. That simple pleasure of sliding the rear end, learning weight transfer, understanding vehicle dynamics. The emergency maneuver that could help you avoid accidents. The fun that harmed nobody. Deleted by engineers who decided computers understand driving better than humans. Number 7, CVT transmissions. The single most soul-destroying mechanical component ever installed in automobiles. This rubber band nightmare is spreading through the industry like a disease, and manufacturers are pushing CVTs for one reason: they're cheap to produce and marginally improve fuel economy numbers on regulatory paperwork. The driving experience is torturous. Floor the throttle and the engine screams at constant RPM while the car slowly accelerates like it's dragging an anchor. No gear changes, no mechanical connection, no sensation of building momentum, just monotonous droning as the engine hangs at 5,500 RPM while the car reluctantly gathers speed. Transportation at its most joyless. But the true evil? CVTs are destroying performance cars. The Honda Civic, once available with one of the best manual transmissions in the industry, now comes with CVT in multiple markets. The WRX, Subaru's rally-bred icon, offers a CVT option. They're installing rubber band transmissions in cars specifically built for driving engagement. It's like putting training wheels on a superbike. The reliability is a cruel joke. Jatco CVTs and Nissans fail around 60,000 kilometers. Replacement cost? $4,000 to $5,000. Traditional automatic transmissions last 300,000 kilometers. CVTs are fortunate to reach 100,000. The belt wears, the pulleys fail, the fluid overheats under any real load. But manufacturers don't care because CVTs slightly improve their fleet emissions averages on paper. And here's the insulting part: fake shift points. Manufacturers program CVTs to simulate gear changes because even they know customers hate the rubber band effect. So now you have a transmission pretending to be something it's not, adding software complexity to create an inferior imitation of what we already had. It's automotive theater, and you're paying for the performance. Number 6. Rev limits. Remember when a Honda VTEC screamed to 9,000 RPM? When Italian V8s sang to 8,500? When approaching redline felt like a celebration of mechanical violence? Now most turbocharged engines hit a wall at 6,000 RPM. Some cut fuel at 5,500. They've murdered the top end, the excitement, the reward for pushing harder. This isn't technical limitation, it's intentional suppression. Modern materials and engineering could easily handle higher RPM, but turbocharged engines make peak torque at 3,500 RPM and peak power by 5,500. So why let them rev higher? Why give drivers joy when you can optimize for efficiency? The BMW B58 Straight 6, one of the best modern engines, cuts fuel at 7,000 RPM. Its naturally aspirated predecessor, the N52, revved to 7,500 RPM and sounded glorious doing it. The new engine is faster on paper, quicker in every measurable way, but it's soulless. All performance, zero personality. It's like dating someone who's technically perfect but emotionally unavailable. Even dedicated sports cars suffer. The new Mercedes-AMG C63 with its 4-cylinder hybrid system, 6,750 RPM limit. The outgoing V8, 7,200 RPM of thunder. They'll tell you the new car is faster, and they're right. But speed without sound isn't the same thing. The psychological impact matters. Approaching redline used to be an event, a crescendo where the engine's true character revealed itself. Now it just stops. No climax, no mechanical drama, just a sudden electronic wall. Your brain expects reward for wringing out an engine. Instead, you get abrupt silence. It's automotive blue balls, and manufacturers think we won't notice because the 0 to 100 time improved by 0.2 of a second. Number 5. Electronic power steering. Remember feeling road surface texture through the wheel? Knowing exactly what your front tires were doing? Understanding grip levels through your hands? That connection is gone, replaced by artificial feedback programmed by engineers who think video game steering is acceptable. Here's what they don't advertise. Electronic steering saves manufacturers $180 per car compared to hydraulic systems. It also improves fuel economy by 0.2 liters per 62 miles. So for a fraction of a percent efficiency gain and minor cost savings, they eliminated the primary communication channel between driver and machine. Ferrari engineers privately admit that creating authentic steering feel electronically is impossible. The 488 GTB uses hydraulic assistance specifically because electronic systems cannot provide adequate feedback for performance driving. Yet every Golf, every 3 Series, every Focus now has steering with less feedback than a Logitech gaming wheel. The programming is insulting. BMW's variable sport steering adds artificial weight in sport mode without adding any actual feel. It's literally just making the wheel harder to turn and marketing it as sporty. Audi's dynamic steering actively changes ratios mid-corner, destroying any muscle memory or consistency. You're not driving anymore, you're making suggestions to a computer that decides whether to follow them. Professional racing driver testimonies are damning. DTM champion Marco Wittmann says modern car steering is completely numb compared to race cars. Rally legend Sebastian Loeb called current WRC cars PlayStation cars because electronic steering removes all natural feedback. When world champions can't feel what the car is doing, what chance do regular drivers have? Number 4. Death of the manual transmission. This one hits differently because it's not just about driving dynamics. It's about choice, about involvement. about the fundamental connection between human intention and mechanical response. And it's nearly extinct. The numbers are catastrophic. Manual transmissions now represent just 8% of new car sales in Europe, down from 89% in 2000. In North America, it's worse, less than 2%. Manufacturers claim customers don't want manuals anymore, but here's the reality: they stopped offering them. Can't buy what isn't available. The excuses are predictable. Automatics are faster, more efficient, better for emissions. All technically true. A dual clutch transmission shifts quicker than any human. A modern 8-speed automatic gets better fuel economy, but that's not the point. The point is involvement, the satisfaction of a perfectly executed heel-toe downshift, the control of choosing your own gear, the mechanical sympathy of matching revs. That's being eliminated for efficiency decimals and profit margins. Even performance cars have surrendered. The new BMW M2, automatic standard, manual optional for now. The Mercedes-AMG lineup, automatic only. Audi's entire RS range, no manuals. Hot hatches that built their reputations on driving engagement. The Golf R, the Civic Type R in certain markets, going automatic only. And here's the insidious part: manufacturers are making the manual option worse on purpose. They pair manuals with lower spec interiors, fewer features, worse wheel options. They're deliberately sabotaging manual transmission sales so they can point to low demand and justify discontinuation. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They create the problem, then use it as justification. The driving experience loss is immeasurable. That mechanical connection where you orchestrate every ratio change, where you control power delivery, where you engage with the machine instead of just steering it. Future generations won't understand what they're missing. And that might be the saddest part. They'll never know what driving involvement actually felt like. Number 3, lane keeping systems. These systems actively fight your steering inputs, second-guessing every decision, turning driving into a wrestling match with your own car. The problem is terrible programming. Systems can't differentiate between intentional movements and unintended drift. Avoiding a pothole? The car fights you back towards it. Taking an optimal line through a corner? The system thinks you're leaving the lane and countersteers. You're literally battling your own vehicle to go where you intend. Construction zones become nightmares. Multiple lane markings, temporary lines, narrow passages. The systems lose their minds, ping-ponging between conflicting inputs. German Autobahn construction zones regularly see cars with lane keeping activated bouncing off barriers because the system got confused and overcorrected. The solution should be simple: turn it off. But here's the insidious part: manufacturers are making these systems progressively harder to disable. What used to require one button press now demands navigating 3 submenus. Some cars re-enable lane keeping every drive cycle. Others beep incessantly when disabled, conditioning you to accept electronic control through annoyance. The EU is already mandating these systems on all new cars. The US may be next. You'll be forced to have a computer second-guessing your steering inputs, fighting your control, adding interference to the simple act of pointing your car where you want. They call it safety. I call it the removal of driver agency. And the worst part? These systems create new dangers they claim to prevent. Drivers become dependent on electronic assistance, their skills atrophying. Then the system malfunctions, and it will malfunction, and they don't have the fundamental abilities to maintain control. We're creating generations of people who can't actually drive. They can only supervise. Number 2, intelligent speed assistance. Possibly coming to the US, and you want to pay attention, because let me be clear, this isn't advisory, this is active intervention. Your car reads speed limit signs and GPS data, then physically prevents you from exceeding them. You can temporarily override by pressing hard on the throttle, but it reactivates every single time you start the car. Think about the implications. Overtaking becomes dangerous when your car suddenly cuts power mid-maneuver. Merging onto motorways gets terrifying when the system thinks the slip road has a different speed limit than the main on-ramp. Emergency situations where you need acceleration, the car decides whether your emergency is valid. The technology isn't even ready. Testing shows these systems misread signs 23% of the time. Construction zones, temporary limits, faded signs. The cameras can't handle real-world conditions. German testing revealed systems reading 30 kilometers per hour signs on side roads, while cars traveled on the Autobahn at 130 kilometers per hour, suddenly cutting power at high speed. It's not just frustrating, it's actively dangerous. But here's the real agenda, and this is where it gets dark. This is step 1 toward full autonomous control. Once cars can limit speed, the next step is route control, then mandatory autonomous zones, then human driving banned entirely in urban areas. They're implementing this gradually, incrementally, so you don't notice each individual freedom disappearing. Insurance companies are already adjusting. Some insurers offer discounts for keeping ISA activated. Soon they'll penalize you for overriding it. Eventually, overriding might void coverage entirely. They're building a system where you're financially punished for actually controlling your own vehicle. The manufacturers claim this saves lives. Maybe it does, in some statistical analysis, but at what cost? We're trading human judgment for algorithmic control, trading driver skill for electronic supervision. And once this infrastructure exists, once every car has the capability to be externally controlled, what happens when governments decide they can remotely limit your vehicle, restrict your movements, track your location constantly? The technology enables surveillance and control that would have been science fiction a decade ago. Number 1, the beeping epidemic. The final destroyer of driving pleasure. The incessant, maddening, soul-crushing beeping. Seatbelt chimes, speed warnings, door alerts, proximity sensors, lane departure buzzers, traffic sign recognition bongs, attention monitoring warnings, service reminders. Modern cars never shut up. Start a BMW and it beeps 8 times before you move. The seatbelt warning that continues for 2 minutes straight. The speed warning at 75 miles per hour that cannot be permanently disabled. Parking sensors that scream when a leaf blows past. Attention monitoring that beeps if you glance at your mirror too long. It's psychological warfare. The new auto regulations make it exponentially worse. From 2024, cars must beep when exceeding speed limits. Not once, but continuously. Imagine driving through a city with changing limits, construction zones, and school areas. Beep, beep, beep. It's designed to make driving so unpleasant that you'll beg for autonomous cars just to escape the noise. Some manufacturers let you disable warnings for that drive only. Every startup resets everything. 15 button presses to achieve silence, repeated daily. It's deliberately designed to break your will through attrition. They want you to submit, to accept that the car knows better, to stop fighting for control. And here's what nobody's saying out loud. This is intentional misery. They could program reasonable warning systems, single chimes, dismissible alerts, but they don't. Because the goal isn't safety, it's conditioning. They're training you to hate driving so much that autonomous transportation seems like liberation instead of loss of freedom.